This is called Come Some Autumn Day. It's gonna be a whole lot different around this place this fall. The youngest of our kids is packed and moving on. He's packed and moving on. Yeah, we knew this day was coming. We've known it for some time. But that don't ease the emptiness as we watch him wave goodbye, as he turns and waves goodbye. Turning the page to a new chapter, turning the wheel to a brand new day. We can drag our feet, scream and holler, still they fly away. Come some autumn day. Last week I drove the cornfields down near my old hometown to a little nursing home where my mother's living now. That's where she's living now. Yeah, and it breaks my heart to see her slipping through my hands. Feel about as helpless as a little boy again, her little boy again. Turning the page to a new chapter, turning the wheel to a brand new day. We can drag our feet, scream and holler, still they fly away. Hey! See the pretty maple tree ready for bed, leaves at her feet like a fallen dress, just like a fallen dress. Turning the page to a new chapter, turning the wheel to a brand new day. We can drag our feet, scream and holler, still we all fly away. Come some autumn day. Hey. Ooh.
And that was Johnsmith. He's here live with me on Fiddles and Frets. How you doing, John?
Good. Very, very good.
I always talk about your name. I asked you about this.
Sure,
Your name is John Smith, but you explain that.
It's condensed.
It's condensed.
It's kind of squeezed together, John Smith, without a space. And, yeah, my real name is John Joseph Smith. And of course, with a name like John Smith, you can imagine how much I've been teased in my life. Even though I grew up in Iowa, in a little town when I was born of 100 people. So there weren't any other John Smiths. And my mom, and there's 10 kids in my family. 10 kids from top to bottom in 10 years. So that alone is pretty amazing. And so a lot of friends, especially as I grew up and left my hometown area when I went off to college and young adult life, when I would tell people my name, John Smith, there'd be a joke. And a lot of people would want to call me John Smith. Hey, John Smith. Just because the uniqueness, not uniqueness, but the generic thing, they would have fun with it. And it just kind of stuck. And then when I made my first solo record back in 98, my graphic artist was a friend and put it on there like that as a joke, so to me, sort of. And I was like, that's funny. But she was like, no, really, we should keep it that way. And so it really kind of stuck. Promoters and people in the folk world and stuff, it kind of does give somebody, make them look twice at it. That's it. So there's not a real big story, but that's it.
And
my name's not really Bob Dylan, and I changed it to John Smith.
And you're from, it's not Zimmerman either, right?
No, it's not.
Okay. You're from where?
Well, I grew up in a little town in Iowa, eastern part of Iowa, called DeWitt, and lived there until I graduated from high school, and spent quite a few years in California and Colorado. And but I've been living in Wisconsin 20-some years now, in a little town called Trempealeau, Wisconsin, right on the banks of the upper Mississippi on the Minnesota border. Real pretty. Yeah. Cold in the winter, but gorgeous. Yeah.
I should mention we're here at the Northeast Regional Folk Alliance, and you're one of the showcase artists this year, which was pretty cool, I thought.
It was very cool. I think so, too. Yeah, I was very honored. And yeah.
I'll tell you a little bit whose music you remind me of. A guy that I actually interviewed also down in North Carolina. That's Tom Kimmel. Do you know Tom?
I know Tom very, very, very well. As a matter of fact, we're very much kindred brothers. And I'm flattered that you see that connection there in our music. Yeah, we both kind of have a similar, degree of poeticness in songs that are sort of psychologically kind of sound, but that's kind of not a very musical kind of word or definition. But we also sort of have a, sort of a spiritual awareness kind of a bent to our songs. They might have a little dark edge, but then it kind of turns towards the positive, sort of. I don't know if I said that well, but that's kind of what I would say the connection between me and Tom is. And we're very dear friends and been very helpful to each other. We've co-written a number of songs. And
I was going to ask you that because I know he co-writes, and I was going to ask you if you also co-write.
Yeah, as a matter of fact, Tom helped me come to Nashville. We met at the Kerrville Folk Festival in Texas, which is quite a clan-like gathering of songwriters. And we both went through the New Folk thing at different years, and we're both winners of that. And we met down there and just hit it off as buddies and admirers of each other's stuff. And he was like, John, you should come to Nashville. Because, Tom had a long history of 20 years or so of having staff writer deals and a few cuts, from people from Johnny Cash to Joe Cocker to, Linda Ronstadt. A lot of cool people have cut some of Sean Colvin have cut some of Tom's songs. And so, when somebody like that tells you they want to help you out in Nashville, you go, well, because my first instinct was, I don't know. I'm more of a folkie. I don't know if Nashville's my thing. But he helped me get a deal there. And it was very educational. The staff songwriting thing, it's, it's got a downside in that the Nashville music industry is a very powerful aspect to the town. And I don't like much of what comes out of contemporary country radio stations. I'm not saying there's not some good stuff, and a lot of
I know what you mean.
Spirit went into it, but it's very kind of limiting, and generic and cookie cutter kind of stuff. And so that part I didn't like, but the fact of just a great community down there and a lot of songwriters that are really trying to, do some neat stuff. And but in the long run, it wasn't for me, that community, but it did get to really know Tom even better and spend a lot of time. He would host, put me up at his house. And when I had a deal for about 5 years, so I'd go down to Nashville every month pretty much for 5 days to a week and stay at Tom's a lot. And
did you have any of your songs cut?
No, I never did. I never had any big ones cut. I had kind of an odd little publishing deal. It was real nice folks. They were very wealthy, but they didn't plug too many songs. They kind of collected songs more than they did,
right.
Beat them up and down the bricks, and it's normally what happens in this business, like somebody like Tom, is you really kind of go from deal to deal to deal to deal until something just happens to pop, you know what I mean? And I didn't live there, so I wasn't patient for that. It was too much time away from home. And between that and my folk music, real love of going out and playing folk shows, just me and my guitar, singing my songs and telling my stories. That's really what that feels the most purposeful
Mm-hmm.
for me. Not that it wouldn't feel purposeful if somebody had a big hit with one of my songs, and it moved people. I'd like that. I'd be into that abundance that would come my way from that. You know what I mean? But
Exactly.
But it feels very purposeful to, sing anywhere from a small house concert of 25 to a couple hundred seater, which is kind of the zone where I'm at, and a few big festivals in the summer, to really sing those songs and look out and seeing somebody get a tear in their eye about a certain thing, or a couple reach over and grab each other's hand. That you really get that kind of thing in the folky singer-songwriter world. It's very intimate up close.
Well, I'll tell you what. Why don't we hear another song?
Great. Let's see here. I kind of was thinking here what ones I would do. Yeah, I'll do something kind of light here and do another little heavier one later, because that last one was a little bit thick about raising our kids and going on in life and so forth. As I mentioned, I grew up in Iowa. Very nice place to grow up. I was one of those kids that as soon as I was 18, I wanted to go somewhere else, more exciting, of course. But when we were kids, I had a couple places, but one in particular that I liked to used to go out in the country when I wanted to, go out and really be in nature. And a lot of my buddies, we would go out there and camp out and hang out. And so this is just a song about a little place that was real special and sacred to me back there, and it's called Silver Creek. Yeah, yeah. Just outside of town a bit, we'd walk the railroad rail as kids, fishing poles and pocket knives, old bedrolls and dad's flashlight. Yeah, a couple of miles west of town to the railroad bridge where we'd walk on down, toss our packs and drop our pants, see who could make the biggest splash. Cannonballs, summer calls. Oh, Silver Creek, friend of the birch and the willow trees, winding through this farm country. Yeah. Silver as a moonbeam thread, weaving through these cattail beds, where my memories run deep down on Silver Creek. A couple years later, with my girlfriend, we walked on out to that railroad bridge. Thought I'd show her that sandy beach, but she showed me the way of the birds and the bees. Yeah, the moon and the stars and the lightning bugs, they lit up the night in the name of love. And the whippoorwill sang to the night, whippoorwill, whippoorwill, yeah, the world is right, right as rain. Hear that train? Oh, Silver Creek, friend of the birch and the willow tree, where my memories run deep. Yeah, the bullfrog croaks, kingfisher cries, this creek's alive, come on in, come get baptized, yeah. Up and I moved away. Now my kids are grown and my beard is gray. When I go back, I like to go see how the world is doing out at Silver Creek. Coming around the bend, it's my long lost friend. Oh, Silver Creek, friend of the birch perch in the willow trees, winding through this farm country. Silver as a moonbeam thread, weaving through these cattail beds, where my memories run deep, down on Silver Creek, where my memories run deep. Yeah, friend of the willow tree, way down on Silver Creek.
If you're just joining us, that was Johnsmith, who's here with me live on recording, shall we say.
Live from the NERFA.
There we go. Singing his songs. I want to ask you, John, are you a disciplined songwriter?
No, not very much. I teach a lot of songwriting, and I do try to teach other people to be more disciplined. Now, when you say discipline, I assume you mean, do I sit down every day and spend some time?
Kind of like that. Yeah.
No, I don't anymore since I did Nashville.
I was going to say you had to do it then.
I had to do it then, and something about it, you know, I kind of steered off my course a little bit when I was in Nashville. You know, I got to a point where writing every day did serve me, but then it got to a point where it felt like it wasn't serving me, and I needed a break from it. So mostly since then, the last few years, it's really kind of been, you know, when something moves me, then I go for it. You know what I mean? I get a start on the song. And I'm pretty disciplined once I'm onto a song. I mean, if I get an idea that I like, and I got that first verse chorus, or I got that chorus, or I got something, then I'll be real patient is probably a better word, but patient in a disciplined way. I'll really live with that and work with that song. Every day it's kind of in there, and you know what I mean? And that second verse isn't right. It's close, but there's just, you know, and then even when the whole thing is kind of done, yeah, something's not right until it hits me. Wow, yeah, you know, maybe that second verse is nice, but it's not the right one, and you should, you know, should go down this pathway and follow it and stuff. But
so you spend a lot of time editing, which is a lot of, is it something that a lot of songwriters don't learn quickly?
Yeah, they don't learn it quickly. I mean, there's something to be said about, you know, like in writing, including songwriting, what they call first thought, you know, that part that just comes out. Well, I do a lot of that. But then after I get that, that's when I go a little farther with it and do the editing kind of thing. And whereas there are a lot of songwriters, and I notice that when I come to something like this Northeast Folk Lines, I can really hear somebody's definitely got some good chops.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? They get some really groovy stuff, or they're very melodic, and they got a really nice voice. But the songs feel, you know, part of that's my judgment, of course, but the songs feel like they could have been spent a little more time on. They could have crafted the song just a little better. Like, you know, maybe they didn't need 16 verses, maybe 12 verses would have. I mean, I'm just kidding.
I know exactly what you mean.
I'm just kidding, but you know what I'm saying? Just that thing of you know, being patient with the song, and not, because you can get real excited and, boy, I love this so much. I could write the song to death.
It reminds me of I was listening to a country radio station when I was living in Georgia, and they were interviewing a performing songwriter from Nashville, and he told the story about he wrote this song for his girlfriend, and so on her birthday or something he sang it, and after he was done, he goes, and she was also a songwriter. And after he was done the song, he said, how'd you like that song? She goes, it was pretty good, but I think the bridge could have been stronger.
So there, honey.
Yeah. I wanted to ask him, and then I'm going to have you do another tune here.
No, yeah.
You pretty much play all over the country, and
I do. I play pretty much coast to coast. There's not a ton of rhyme or reason about it, but there is sort of a migratory pattern in there. I kind of pick and choose where I want to play, and pick an area and say, okay, in the fall, like this particular fall here that we're talking about in fall of 2006, you know, I've come out to the New England area here a couple times, and I was out here at the peak of color, and then into November. Just great weather, and a beautiful time to come to the East in New England. And in the winter months, I go to Texas every February or March.
That's a good time to go.
It is, yeah. And I go to Colorado a couple times every year. I used to live out there years ago, and so I have a lot of old connections. But I just like that part of the world. I get out to California and or Oregon, Washington every year. Been to Alaska a couple times the last few years. I get down to the whole eastern seaboard, and every place in between sometimes.
And you go to Ireland too, right? Do you
I
play
do.
there?
Well, I did at first. I haven't much lately in the sense of doing shows and trying to build an audience and all that. I went over there for 3 years in a row doing tours. And good friends like Chuck Brodsky and Peter Mulvig helped me, give me a bunch of connections of places because they both kind of worked it over there. And I really wanted to go just because I'm mostly Irish. My name is Johnsmith, and there's one little part of me, 16th or something, an eighth, that's English, the Smith part. But the rest of it's all Irish. My mom's side's all Irish. My dad's more than half. Anyway, so I wanted to go over there. And so the first few times I went over, it was really inspiring to me. But it's a hard place to make a living. Their economy's doing great, but it hasn't translated into songwriters. There's a strong tradition of traditional music over there. And so the venues that you would play and collect money, they're used to having free music in a lot of pubs in Ireland. That's their history. And so even though they've got more money in their pockets, they're not used to going to a place and instead of sitting around the bar, going upstairs to the private room upstairs with the little concert thing and paying 10 or 15. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
They're a little slower coming around to that than so anyway, but still great though. I mean, you really do connect with people, and the ones that like this kind of stuff, like here, they love it. And so, but anyway.
Well, we have I have people listen to this show from Ireland.
Do you really?
Because I can check where what country, and I definitely do have.
Well, so
people.
what happened is after going over there a few times, I wrote several songs that were inspired in Ireland, and many of my fans, would love it when I tell stories about the songs and about Ireland. And many people started to bug me about leading a tour to Ireland. First, I didn't give it very much thought. It'd be a lot of work, and I don't know how I would even really do it. And then I thought, well, if I had a partner from Ireland, and this dear friend of mine, his name is Tom, lives in Limerick, I sent an email to him, and he was like, brilliant idea. And, he's just at the age where he's looking for something else to do. He's semi-retired. And so we put our first tour together, and it was hugely successful. And I've led 5 of them now, and I take about 14 people, me and Tom, and for 9 days and nights, and we see the sights by daytime, stone circles and castles and fishing villages and little out-of-the-way places. And then at night, there's some kind of a musical thing, whether it's a traditional session and with us singing some songs at the end of it, or a night maybe with me and an Irish songwriter split up, or maybe we'll even go to a festival a night, and you know what I mean? Just kind of mix it up.
That's nice. That's cool.
Yeah, it's very, very fun. So that's really my big Irish connection the last couple of years instead of going over there. But I did, though, like this last summer, I went over and played at the Fiddler's Green Festival in County Down in Ross Trevor. And that was great, and made some really new friends, a few new fans, and just had a great time. Then I went on one of my tours.
Okay, John, tell you what, let's do another song, and then we'll
Yep.
come back and...
While I'm tuning up here, fine-tuning, I will tell you just a little bit about this tune. It's a song I wrote a few years back, and my father had a long battle with Alzheimer's disease, and it was in a nursing home several years, and after he passed away from the Alzheimer's, a couple years maybe after he passed away, a couple months, all the good memories of him, because those last memories of Alzheimer's are kind of sad, when people aren't talking anymore and their body's sort of shutting down. And so, but after a couple months after he was gone, the good memories started to come back, and And one particular night, I wasn't thinking about writing a song at all. I just was in my kitchen, closed the doors. Everybody was in bed, my kids and wife. And I had just been noodling on my guitar. Literally fell asleep just in the kitchen, just playing guitar. And I finally woke up and said, "Well, I better go to bed." And I went to put my guitar in the case, and right on top of all the papers and stuff in my case was this one picture of my dad that I've been carrying around for years. And I saw that picture, and it was like it jumped out of the case at me, and I just had this presence of my dad sort of with me. And so this song just kind of fell right out, and it's called "That's My Dad." That's my dad in the photograph, sitting in a boat with his fishing hat, smiling at me, smiling at life, with a pole in his hand, just waiting for a bite. I remember me and my brother getting up early before all of the others. We were going fishing, just Dad and us, down below the dam before the sun came up. Now my dad, he smiles at me from above the clouds where the angels sing. Sometimes I feel a little tug on the line. That's my dad on the other side. Well, my dad built pistons down at the factory. He worked like a dog with 12 mouths to feed. But I bet he got a medal when he crossed the pearly gates. And I'm sure he's up there fishing with St. Peter every day. Now my dad, he smiles at me from above the clouds where the angels sing. Sometimes I feel a little tug on the line. That's my dad on the other side. Now I'm all grown up, I got kids of my own. Sometimes I'm a busy guy, always going down the road. But I learned from my dad to save a little time for the ones you love before it all slips by. Smiles at me from above the clouds where the angels sing. Sometimes I feel a little tug on the line. That's my dad on the other side. That's my dad in the photograph, sitting in a boat with his fishing hat, smiling at me, smiling at life, with a pole in his hand, just waiting for a bite. Yeah, that's my dad on the other side.
And that was Johnsmith. And name that song, My Dad?
It's called That's My Dad.
That's My Dad.
Mm-hmm.
Well, hopefully people that are listening will go out and see you when you're in
their area. They can find that usually out on my website, which is johnsmithmusic.com. It's not johnsmith.com. It's johnsmithmusic.com. And there'll be a schedule link on there. And that will mention where I'm playing around the country, and I tour quite a bit.
And people can get your CDs?
Same place.
Same place.
Go to my website there, and you can click on it. You can either buy them directly from me, or you can go through CD Baby, which is great, and they fulfill orders. They even do digital downloads if that's your choice these days. And,
well, when we'll be playing several extra of your songs this week, and people can actually click a button if they like a song and go somewhere and download, buy
nice?
and download that song.
Yeah. And I tell you, the internet can't say enough about how good it is for really independent folk singers like this, because it really connects us with each other and connects us with people out there that like this unique little thing. I mean, a lot of us think, God, why isn't folk music more of a, more common thing? But it is what it is, and the internet is a great tool for hooking us all up. So, and I appreciate you having me on your show.
Well, I want to thank you very much, Johnsmith, for coming on.
Yeah, you bet.
Okay.
Yeah.